Hey guys, it's Eric Lyman with Impact House Buyers, and today I wanted to explain a little bit about a concept in real estate known as wholesaling. And I wanted to explain this to you, especially if you're looking to sell a property, because I truly believe that knowledge is power, and we always want everybody we work with to be as knowledgeable as possible, especially so they can go into whatever sale process you end up with open eyes, and so that you can make a decision proactively and with all the best information. Um, Wholesaling is something that not many people know about outside of the real estate investment industry. Typically, when you hear the word wholesale, you think about Costco or Sam's Club, where you're getting a wholesale discount on a jar of peanut butter or something like that. But there is a concept of wholesaling in real estate as well. And basically, the idea is that a wholesaler or an real estate investor and wholesale a property to another investor for a fee. So what that actually looks like, I've just outlined in these three little steps here. Basically, let's imagine you work with a wholesaler for your property and you contract with them for, let's say as an example, $150,000 for the property. It's an all cash offer. They're going to close in a set amount of time, like 30 days. They're going to pay for all the closing costs. There's nothing out of pocket. They handle everything, etc. It's a really easy, quick solution for you as the seller. And for them, it looks like it's an investor who's getting a deal on a property. But what they're actually going to do if they're a wholesaler is they're going to actually assign the rights to the contract that they have with you to somebody else. And that's a perfectly legal process. In the contract, you'll see something that says this contract is assignable. That gives them the legal right to basically transfer the ownership of that contract to somebody else for somebody else to execute. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just depends if that's what you want to do. Um, so that person who you worked with originally is not going to be the final buyer. They're not going to close on the property. They're going to sell their rights to your contract that they have with you for a fee. And then it's going to go on to somebody else who hopefully will close on the property, and they're going to pay more money than they had contracted with you. So just as a way of an example, let's say that the contract is for 150,000. They're going to assign it to a third or a second person, third party, second investor for $20,000. That's what that original person is going to make. And then that second investor is going to pay $170,000 at the closing, and you're going to receive your original 150, and the wholesaler is going to receive 20,000. So I've got a note here. Is this really a bad thing? Not necessarily. It's only bad if bad things end up happening. But typically that starts with some kind of deception. So a lot of wholesalers, unfortunately, don't operate with full transparency. Their main interest is getting that first contract with you. So they're going to say or do anything they can do to get that contract with you. And so they may say things like, we're going to close on your property in 30 days. The deception there is that they are not actually going to close. Somebody else is. And it might be somebody who they work really closely with, so they have a high degree of confidence that they will close. But it could be that they're going to send it to somebody who they don't know. And there's really, we can't be sure that they're going to close. So that's really where things kind of take a left turn. And we definitely caution people, like, that those bad things can happen. Like, it would be horrible if you're going through this whole process, especially if it's a time sensitive matter, like there's a foreclosure looming, or it's going through probate, or there's like a divorce case, some sort of contingencies, and that property has to be sold. Or even just in the worst case, or the best case really, is that you've just lost time. But all those things can happen. And it's horrible to go through that process and then have somebody back out of the contract because they can't make it work for whatever reason, because the wholesaler didn't do their due diligence with the numbers or something else happens. There's just a loss of control at that point. And so that's really where things can get nasty. But I do want to note that there are a lot of wholesalers out there that work at a very high level. They're great at communication. They have really close networking partners that they work with. And when they do sign on with you, there really is a very little doubt that they will close. But typically, those are the bigger players, and they're not going to be afraid to tell you what they're doing and what their role is in the process. So, I've got some ways you can sort of protect yourself. I'll get to that in a minute. But a lack of transparency is really the hallmark of an amateur wholesaler or just an unethical wholesaler. And that's something else I want to mention in this as well, is that since the explosion of the internet occurred and YouTube, there are tons of people entering the real estate investment scene, and they're entering as wholesalers because they don't need any capital to get started. So you're going to see, kind of like amateur hour with these people. And that can be bad as well. So I've got some things here you can look out for when you're selling your property. If you're engaging in a lot of conversations, here are some of the ways you can know if you're talking to a wholesaler if they don't tell you that they're a wholesaler, right? Um, and that's really the first thing. I should put this up first, but it's this dishonesty. So they're going to tell you that they're a cash buyer and they're going to close, they're going to execute and, make good on the contract they put in front of you. Um, a lot of times you're going to find that, just like in with real estate agents, there's a lot of competition for your business. So people are going to be reaching out to you left and right. If your property is in probate, then it's going to be notified as public information at some point, and you're suddenly going to be receiving lots of phone calls and SMSs, emails, maybe even social media connections from people that just seem to have come out of the blue, and you've never heard of them before, and they're going to be asking you if you want to sell your property. Do you want a cash offer? We can close quickly, that kind of thing. Um, Again, not all of them are unethical wholesalers that are trying to hide something from you. Some of them are very good and upstanding people, but one of the hallmarks is that they're going to reach out to you. So just be aware of that. You'll notice with the ones you really want to avoid that there's a sense of unprofessionalism, like they're just kind of winging it. So some things to look out for would be like lack of a clear process, lack of good communication. So I've got that here as well. If it seems like they're being really casual, if it seems like they have more confusion about the process than they have answers for when you ask them questions, these can all be indicators that you're working with somebody who has very little experience and who doesn't have a big network of buyers, and they may not be able to actually get your property to the close. You'll notice that there's this sense of ambiguity. So when you ask a question of them, they give you sort of a screened answer where, like, because they don't know the exact answer, they may just say something in general terms, or they'll give you a time frame, right? Or they'll just be like, oh, yeah, well, my partner will take care of that part, that kind of thing. You'll notice that with the more professional people that things are very specific. They've gone through the process hundreds of times, so they know exactly what to expect and when, things like that. I already covered the dishonesty part, and really that just comes down to them pretending to be a final buyer when they're actually not. Again, like I said, there are good wholesalers out there, and that may be the perfect solution for you because you can get your property sold super quick. But those people will tend to tell you that they're wholesalers, or they'll answer truthfully when you ask them if they're going to be the final buyers or not. Low offers is also a hallmark of wholesaling. And the reason for that is that there is a pretty proven formula in real estate investment for flippers or people who are going to buy properties at a certain low price, invest money, and then flip it to make a profit. And they're typically working at 70% of the total value of the property after it was repaired, minus closing costs and fees. And so what that's going to look like, let's say if your property is worth $200,000, if it were completely fixed up to today's 2024 standards, they're going to account for the cost of rehabbing the property, account for all their closing costs, and then they're going to take off like a 30% chunk of the total value. And then they're going to subtract their fee as well. So the wholesaler fee right there. And that's going to end up making your offer something like $100,000. Again, it's just a low offer. It may be what you need if you just have a property you want to get gone yesterday. Um, but if you work with us, we are not wholesalers. We're going to give you a higher offer than that. So just something to look out for. Um, there's a tendency, and this kind of goes together with some of the other ones with the dishonesty part. But if you run into somebody who's just over-promising everything, it seems like there's no friction at all. This could be a hallmark of somebody who's just trying to get that contract with you. Again, I'm not saying that's going to cover every situation because some people really may be able to do everything for you, but just keep that in the back of your mind. And something that happens as well. So I mentioned before in the process, what they're going to do is go under contract with you. They're going to try to find an investor to buy the property, or sorry, find an investor to buy the contract from them so that they can close. And the way they do that is they're going to have a showing, or they're going to bring their partners or their contractors through your house so that they can get their eyes on it and see what they're buying. So frequently that's going to look like multiple people coming into the house and at multiple times. These are dead giveaways that somebody is just trying to sell their contract with you. So just be aware of that. So how can you actually protect yourself from this situation? The first thing you can do is just ask them if they're wholesalers. Um, I can guarantee you that 90% of the time, this is going to take that person off guard because, again, most people in the general public have no idea what wholesaling is. So when somebody does ask them if they're wholesalers, then listen for their response. If there's hesitation or confusion, that could be an indicator that they are a wholesaler. If they say they're wholesalers, then you're good, right? Then you're upfront and everyone's working on the same thing here, like they're all on the same page. If they say they're not wholesalers, then you can get more specific about who they are, who their partners are. You know, ask them. Yeah, so ask them who their partners are. Ask them who their title company is. I would also add, ask them for their Google reviews. So any good buyer who's been in business for more than a year is going to have some kind of Google um, footprint in their reviews, so you can look and see what other people have said about them if they've done what they say they're going to do. And Google really is the modern day Better Business Bureau. So if people are doing good business, they're going to have that good business shown on their Google review page as well. So that's just an overview. Like I said, the whole idea here is just having more knowledge. Working with a wholesaler is not inherently bad. Frequently, they have access to lists of buyers who can close super quickly. Yes, the offer will typically be lower as well. The faster you want the transaction done, the lower the offer typically has to be. If you work with us, we're not doing wholesaling. We have other ways of working in real estate that offer a lot more money. It does take a little bit longer, but the process is done correctly. You get a great price, and we still take care of everything in the process as well, including closing costs and all the other things that make selling difficult. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me directly as well. Thanks so much.